Education. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Nevada Community School Board District Board of Education meeting of February 19th, 2024. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I would seek approval of the agenda as it's placed before us tonight.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve our agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Brian, do we have any public comment?
No.
All right, I guess we will turn it over to Brian Schaefer. He is our business manager, and he has a good story to tell. So Brian, let's talk about fiscal year 25.
Hopefully it's a good story. For the most part it is.
Well, what if we get 3% allowable growth?
Yeah, 3%
Yeah.
This warning, anything below 2%, and then the budget guarantee kicks in, and then it becomes taxable, or taxes. So,
And let's see the glass is half full.
yep. Okay, this is my annual report on the certified budget. Unfortunately, like I said, like Marty said, the allowable growth hasn't been set, or the supplementary state aid, I gotta say it right. The supplementary state aid hasn't been set yet, but we're gonna assume that it's gonna be 2.5% for this report. First up, and the board has seen this several times, but the House File 718 last year changed things for school budgets. Used to be that the budget deadline was April 15th, and now it's been extended to April 30th. It also created another public hearing besides the public hearing we always had before, and we also have to have a mailed taxpayer statement, and that this county auditor's office will put out that mailed taxpayer statement, so we're not involved with that, other than providing the information to that report. If you had a PEARL, which is the recreation levy, there's no more of those anymore. I know a couple school districts had those. Bond elections are only in November now, so they're part of the schedule with everything else that shows up in November for elections. And a big one, at least around here, is that school residential value will be excluded from new TIF areas that the cities establish. So that's a big deal for us, because if there's residential areas that are qualifying for TIF here, then they're excluded from the valuation for schools.
That's a welcome change.
Yeah.
With all the existing ones now, that's not that qualified. Okay.
No, you get it grandfathered in. Again, the budget certification date was changed from April 15th to April 30th. Budget appeal changes from April 25th to May 10th. So if anybody wants to appeal the budget, they have until May 10th. Once again, the borough votes are excluded, and the property tax hearing statement must be mailed to taxpayers, and it requires a public hearing on that notice, and we must submit the information to the Department of Management so the county auditor can send it out on March 15th or after. So for that hearing statement, we must set the maximum levy that we're going to have for that tonight. So I have that information to give to the Department of Management. That's on the agenda, on the approval agenda. Once again, the assumption tonight on my figures, 2.5 supplemental state aid. In school funding, this is the basics that I provided every year. Our revenues last school year were $20.4 million. For general fund, that's books, materials, operating expenses. State aid was 10.3 of it. Property taxes was 6.2. And the grants and miscellaneous income was 3.9 million, and that 3.9 million was high because we were getting ESSER money from the federal government. So typically it isn't that high. Capital projects funds, including PEPL and SAVE, was $2.5 million in revenues. management fund was $271,200 in revenues, which was for the insurance and the early retirement. And I'm going to bring that one up here later because $271,200 is very low. It's going up considerably on the management fund. Nutrition fund, $1.3 million of revenues last year, and that was because, once again, of a lot of ESSER money there, a lot of grants, but that pulled the fund up out of the negatives. So, student activity fund, a little over $400,000 in revenues. How much funding does the district get? Number of students times the per student cost would be about 10.846 million. The per student cost is set by the legislature as a percentage. The increase is known as supplemental state aid, which we haven't seen yet for next year. There's our enrollment for the last 10 years. The blue line is certified enrollment. The red line is the butts in the seats, the head count. We're getting a lot of students from over east and over west, both now, that contribute to that head count. And fewer students are going towards Gilbert like they used to. There's the supplemental aid history. At one time it was up to 4%, and it's been 2.5% or below here lately. Once again, the school funding formula. But there's additions, categorical funding, such as the teacher supplement, salary supplement, or the teachers' leadership committees, $1.695 million. Add in supplemental weighting for English language learners. One example, supplemental weighting also for any sharing that goes on. Special ed costs for the student weights. And the AEA for now, almost 731,000. We'll see if that holds. Dropout prevention that the board approved in January, 478,000. Special ed deficit recovery. This was a special ed from 2 years ago, 524,000, and instructional support, 836,000. For instructional support, the 836,000 is not funded by the state anymore, so we get the full amount of the benefit, but the state does not fund their portion of it now. And the preschool foundation aid's gone up 364,000 because we got more kids. Grand total, $16,983,334, which does not include miscellaneous income, such as interest or federal grants. Miscellaneous income will be estimated around $2.9 million for next year. So that's, like I said, that's down about $1 million from 2 years ago when we were getting ESSER grants. One thing I went through several times today, and I couldn't quite jive it, but it looks like local taxes are picking up more of the burden of the school, and state aid is going down. So we'll see if it goes up to 3%, that might change a little bit more. So there's the expenditures for 22-23 in the pie graph. The big purple one is salaries and benefits, 78.6, so it's still below the 80% of the goal that the board set to keep it below 80%. The next thing is purchase services such as tuition, open enrollment out, that sort of thing. Supplies would be the next thing. The physical things that are bought to aid people in the classrooms. So the financial condition of the district, what I've done with that is I've taken the 5 districts above Nevada's enrollment, and 5 below. And these are per student comparisons. Unspent balance is what the state looks at for the solvency of the school districts. Between the 5 up and 5 low below us, the low was 1844 to a high almost $5,000, and Nevada's about 3,900. Cash and investment balance, which is basically our liquidity, the cash we have on hand, went from 1683 to a high of almost $4,500 between the school districts. Nevada's is about 3,500 per student. Unassigned fund balance, Nevada's is a little over 2,000. It goes from a low of 369 to a high of 3,300 between the 10 school districts. And similar solvency, 3% to a high of 23.6%. Nevada's is 15.7. This management fund is what's the stinker right now. As you can see, we levied $387,182 in 22-23, but the general fund had to pick up some of the cost of the insurance. So that's not all management fund money there, but that is the insurance costs for 22-23. The re-estimated cost, basically I put 20% on for an increase in insurance, and I was only $16,000 off from the cost. So I'm requesting again about a 20% increase in insurance for next year. So it's basically doubled over the last 3 to 4 years. Mostly because of the property insurance going up because of storm damage, roof damage, that sort of thing. Like I said, $163,000 was moved to general fund to cover all the costs of the insurance. Insurance costs were raised by 20% for this year, when it was only off by about $16,000. Insurance costs will be re-estimated for the coming year, 20%. And the tax levy recommendation for next year. So if we had levied the full amount for debt service like we did with 270, it would be real close, but most of that decrease is the decrease in the debt service levy. The debt service levy is funded to pay off the 2012 bonds completely and the scheduled payment for the 2021 bonds for the middle school. And the levy impact on homes. Decrease of $212,000 for a typical $100,000 taxable valuation. Once again, mostly due to the decrease in the debt service levy.
Is that a big move for the rollback?
Yeah, yeah, I'd never seen it go up quite down that far. And this is something Marty asked me to do last year, and again, I'm doing it this year. The property tax levy on the increased valuation. The increased valuation ended up being about $21.5 million. Take a time to propose levy. The impact on the increase of the valuation, about $287,000.
And that was a jump up of what, 32 million, 33 million?
Yeah. Any questions? We're going to, on action item 5.1, we're going to set the levy, the total levy for the taxpayer statement. We'll have that discussion at that time.
I think through the course of the conversation Saturday, we had to ask to fund an SRO and some staffing. Can we absorb that and be fine? And leave the levy as you propose?
We can absorb it, or go ahead and add the additional levy onto the total levy and then decrease it if you want to later.
It'd be a board decision.
Yeah.
Because we're not talking about a lot of movement there. Was it 7 cents on one and 15 on the other, something like that? Not a big deal.
Any questions?
So you're likely, when you're not gonna be here to do the, or are you gonna do the valuations? You're not gonna be here to do the valuations or next year. Would it be your suspicion, your educated guess, that we will continue to have growth in the assessed valuations as it's been trending here lately?
Yes, and probably not quite as high.
Okay.
It's because of the boom nature of the cycle
Right.
that we had this past year.
Kind of waning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions? Brian, it's your last chance. This is the last one.
Thank you for listening.
Hearing nothing. And this brings us to our action agenda. We have a few things on it, and 5.1 is the levy determination for our taxpayer statement. So the conversation turns to the number that we publish. And I think you got Brian's suggestion there. And Leanne, you spoke a lot to this here on Saturday. I mean, do you have anything that you would like to offer up as a number?
I don't remember what the numbers were, to be honest.
Well, it was just, okay, you were proposing what? I didn't write it down, but, because I don't have the PowerPoint. 1334?
13.34, yes.
I see 1470.
That was this year's.
Yeah, this is the walk back. And that still that still reflects the increase in the management levy.
Yes.
So that's the net. And the decrease in the debt service levy, but the increase in the management levy.
Steve was saying to fund the raises for the maintenance staff, 13-cent increase in the levy, and for the school resource office, another dime, 10 cents.
Okay, 23 cents. Do we have the cash on hand, or do we have the cash ability to absorb that 23 cents? And leave it at 1334, but we still should probably maybe a little higher.
If, state aid came in at 2%, would we still be in that position to have the cash to, without flexing the levy?
Yeah. The cash absorbed like 225,000 this year,
Mm-hmm.
and it basically didn't touch the solvency ratio or anything like that. So I'm comfortable with whatever the board decides to do with that.
But we don't have a compelling financial need to levy for those proposals we saw Saturday.
No.
What about future years going forward? You know, these aren't one-time costs. I mean, these are something we're gonna have to live with
Oh, yeah.
indefinitely. I mean, will we be in the same position to absorb that without, or will we just be looking at raising the levy anyway next year?
Well, that's what I said on Saturday, bringing the levy down so far. There's the risk that it will go up in future years for any costs or any very low state aid.
That's not unique to our district either. We've done that year passed.
Yeah. Even I have been here long enough to vote for a tax increase in our levy, so. At some point, you turn the enrollment around. And I suspect you're gonna get a 3%, just one guy's guess. And if you have a little bit of an enrollment bump, which is gonna happen someday, those are dollars that, you know, just as much as you wanna say, well, where's the SSA gonna end up? Well, what if we get 5, 7, 10 students? Take that times $7,800. There's one of your amounts. I think that would have taken care of your proposals on dietary, food service, and maintenance. And if you got the 3%, as opposed to the 2%, because it has been 2% for a while. So I would be, maybe I'm the optimist here, but I would suspect you're gonna have higher rather than lower.
We have a couple unknowns too with a few of the bills in terms of the $15 minimum pay, teacher pay, school district's funding for that. And then there's been a little bit of growth in terms of, just talking about the student enrollment, the students going to the private schools. There's been a few more to pop up. with
Have we
the
lost
supplies.
anybody to a private school, Brian?
There was about 7, I think they counted 7 students, but I think they were all already in the private schools.
So there's zero slippage. It's a number I've never heard you say. Guess I never thought to ask you.
It's still rolling out though, like more families are qualifying every.
Oh, certainly.
It's a 3-year step out.
Yeah.
Did the home rule, the proposal to allow, not home rule, homeschool students get a piece of the public schooling pie, did that get through funnel?
For this year?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure
I
it's-
don't,
I don't think it
I
did.
don't,
I feel like I
Think
would have
that
done
would
in
be
the past.
Yeah. It's a game changer.
Yeah,
for, yeah.
but just because it didn't make funnel doesn't mean it's dead. I don't know, I'll reiterate what I said Saturday, I'm not, never one to say that we need to increase the levy, but with all the unknowns and knowing that once we get to setting our budget, we can only lower the levy, we can't raise it, I'm more inclined to build that 23 back in at this point. And then when we get to April in the budget hearing, lower it back, because hopefully SSA will be set by then, hopefully they'll be adjourned in Des Moines by then. And we'll have a good, solid idea of going forward. That's just my inclination.
23 being the 13 plus the 10.
13 plus the 10, yeah. Thank you, I should have clarified that.
Just make sure that I was following you.
So that would raise the levy from the 1334 that I proposed up to 1357. Just to clarify.
Is it 1357?
Yes.
What do you think of that, Missy?
I think, I'm inclined to follow that same direction.
We gotta cover ourselves, we only have, once you pick the number, it's only down or stay. Yeah.
So this taxpayer statement, what we approve here tonight is what goes out on the taxpayer statement.
Yes. Basically, it does, it shows what we approved tonight and puts it beside what was approved last year.
I wish I could see what that statement's gonna look like. Is it a form or is it a,
Yeah, yeah.
be interesting to see what it looks like, to see how bad it
Okay. Oh,
would look.
You're saying that like people receive?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was on the way to approve it, and then it was asking for a website for where people could go and look at that information, and I didn't have that, so. Once I've gotten that from Joe, and I'll put that in, and then I'll show what that is, and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
So is that statement something that the district then mails out, is responsible for mailing out to every taxpayer?
The county auditor is.
The county auditor. So who pays for that mailing?
It'll probably be a county auditor thing.
Okay.
I haven't heard that
You
we're
do.
any cost.
Right. Ultimately, we do, but I was
Just so you know,
wondering
you do.
where that comes from.
They're picking out of the same pocket.
Yeah.
I assume that'll be all taxing entities will be represented on that.
They're supposed to be.
Okay. So this is something that includes all the taxing entities. Okay. Got it.
Well, it is a substantial walk back, but as I talked about this with a couple of people this weekend, it just reflects a commitment in the last, 7, 8 years of levying to be able to buy down bonds to get us to the point where we don't have anything worth calling or levying for because we did it. And $619,000 of interest savings is no small amount. That's a win. And that's a credit to this board and previous board members here because it didn't all happen in 1 year. You up for a proposal, Leanne? Motion, should I say?
Ready?
No, I was, sorry.
Well, you've kind of carried the water on this one. I thought maybe you might want to make the proposal.
You said
Or
13.57?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll move that, let me find it, hold on. Move that we set the levy for $13.57 for fiscal year 25. Do I need to clarify for purpose of the taxpayer statement, Brian? For purposes of publication on the taxpayer statement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt 1357 to be published to the district, to be sent out in the statement that our tax holders of the district will be receiving next month. Any further discussion or clarity going forward from Brian? Well, it's kind of a little bit in flux here. You know, you always learn something if you ask questions from him. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 1357 it is. Good job. .2, Steve sent this out in our, an update here recently. Who's speaking to that?
Joe's.
Oh, hi, Joe.
Good evening, everyone. So what we've got tonight is just kind of a continuation of what we brought to you 2 weeks ago with updating some security things here in NCRC, here at Gates. So now we've got the final quotes together for the 3 schools. And we're recommending the low bid from Byte Speed in the amount of $206,178. So majority of that funding will be coming through, back through the state. About $150,000 we'll get back from the state as reimbursement through their statewide security grant process. So a little bit we'll pick up on our own, but we should be able to take that with existing budgeted money, no problem. What we're doing as part of that project, just like here at Gates and at the NCRC, is we're replacing the existing key card systems with ones that are A, hardwired, and B, tied in with our camera system, and also adding several cameras to blind spots that we've got in each building. So kind of attack two things there with that one project.
What will the public see with these additions? Anything different to their experience?
Realistically, their experience will still be the same. We're adding a few more cameras to just cover some blind spots we've got, especially at the high school. Card access, that'll be for employees and renters of our facilities, but that process will still be the same as far as getting a fob if they rent a facility or things like
That's
that.
run out of your office, right?
We kind of coordinated all.
fobs.
We coordinated all, but fobs come from
Business.
Kristen. Yeah, Kristen or Barb.
All right.
They get those ready for new staff.
So you said with this, you're gonna be turning around in a short time, starting to
Yep, and
put this up?
kind of the hope with this is, you know, every school district in the state is eligible for this, and very, very few have put in for projects this far, just because it's been a bear paperwork wise, as Brian and Dr. Gary can attest to. We're at the point that we're ready, our projects were approved. We kind of did some pre-bids and said, this is the amount that we're kind of looking for. That was accepted. The scope of what we want to do was accepted by, is it FEMA or the federal government? Several different agencies anyways have had eyes on this to say, yep, that will increase security. So the thought is we wanted to get this done and approved as soon as we can before some of those other school districts, because realistically, there's only so many projects and so many vendors in the Midwest that can handle these projects. So we wanted to get in as soon as we can before some of the other districts get in, so that way we can see it done in a reasonable period of time.
So we did.
Yep, we're still well on the front side of it
Good.
compared to a lot of other districts, so.
Well, it's not unusual year over year that you do these things. What's left to do?
This will cover, from a security camera standpoint, this will cover a majority of our blind spots. You know, there still might be one or two areas here or there that are undercovered from cameras. They may have a camera, it's just down a long hallway or something, but they're relatively low traffic areas and not a huge need for super detailed visibility, but those are kind of on our backup list that as funds come available and we need to do things that will add additional cameras to those spots, but those are gonna be pretty few and far between after this. Probably in a couple of years, you'll see me start to replace cameras. So the current camera systems, with the exception of this building, the current camera systems are, I think they're about 4 or 5 years old now, maybe 4. Still pretty good, but we're gonna get to the point that there's better technology available at a reasonable price. So we'll start to look to refresh those as we would any other technology, just updating and replacing. As far as key fobs and door access, this is really the gold standard, what we're doing with that. You've got fob access, but you know, you can unlock phones with your doors with your phone, kind of like I had mentioned. We can do things remotely through a computer much easier than we can currently. We're also adding door position sensors to every door that has card access, which is essentially every door in the district. So that way we'll get alerts if doors are propped open or left unlocked when they should be locked or things like that. So we'll get a, kind of like I mentioned 2 weeks ago, much better state of what security looks like. Because, you know, right now, I couldn't tell you how many doors are blocked open or have a rock in them or things like that. You don't know. So this will give us a much better picture as to the state of things in the district.
So what happens? Who hears about it if at 2 o'clock this morning we have a door open? Who's notified?
So, you know, in that situation, building administrators all have the app on their cell phone and have alerts for those sort of things configured.
So it's not just one person?
No, it's not just one person. Like with our fire alarm system, Dave gets notified through that. So I assume with the key cards, he'll get a notification of that as well. You know, custodians or night custodians, they would probably be a good one for notifications as well.
Okay.
But we've got a lot more flexibility with this. A lot of this stuff can be done with, some of what we want to do can be done with our current system, but it's pretty limited in how you can do it and what your options are. So we've got a lot more options and flexibility new system.
If the need ever arose to airlock what we have here just on this building, that's a technology we could get.
Yep, and that's what we're actually, so that's one of the things that we're gonna do at NCRC as part of the quote that we approved a couple weeks ago, is put a buzzer on that door, because that and this building are our only buildings without secure entrances. Anybody can walk in and have their full run of the building. So we've got a buzzer system coming in for NCRC, and we'll have that set up on Chris and Casey's phones as well as Head Start, so that way they can let people in or out and the building's more secure. Certainly that option exists for here too, if we ever decided we needed to go that far.
Hope not.
And that's kind of been the hope, is those things, they give you a good, I hate to say this, but they give you a good illusion of security. Because all of our buildings have giant pane glass doors. If somebody wants to get through that door, they're gonna get through that door, regardless if you've gotta hit a buzzer or not. So it gives you a good feel good, but it also stops legitimate people
Right.
from entering your building or easily accessing your building. So that's kind of why we've avoided, with the secure entrances we've got at all three schools, we've avoided buzzers, because it's a secure entrance, they just can't have run of the building. They have to go through the office first, which is a deterrent, can slow potential threats down, but it's kind of in that same situation. If somebody wants to get in the building, there's two sets of glass doors that they can get right through. We've kind of been pretty hesitant when a lot of schools are going to buzzers on their outside entrances. You think it through a little bit, and it gives you a good feel good, but from a security standpoint, there's other things you can do.
Because you haven't hardened the point of entry.
Correct. And this building especially, we've got visitors coming all the time.
Well, okay, I get asked this randomly, and I bet you guys do too. We have those doors open, but we don't have these doors open.
Yep.
Why is that?
That is because we want to try and funnel in to stop people from wandering the building. The building's, where reception isn't super clear if you came in those doors or these doors. So when we took over, with signage and everything that says district office over here, and we try to keep the lights on at that door and not this door, to logically funnel people there. You see reception right on the door or right there, so it kind of directs people
Okay.
to come in.
I guess I never asked, and then people do notice because they come to functions or they do things, and it's just like,
Yep.
well, and in years past, both were always open.
Yep. In years past, this building, it was completely, I mean, we've
was
had
open.
people that would stop in
Those
for
doors and-
walking their dog, and they'd stop and get water, so they used to come in this door and go to the water fountain right here. So some of that stuff, so a little bit of that is curtailed. And we've kind of purposefully not put a bunch of signage that you come in and superintendent's this way, technology is this way, just because we'd like people to go to reception first to kind of figure out, I don't want sales, but I probably get 2 salespeople a day coming and looking for me. I really don't want them coming to our office just and bypassing reception. Now reception is kind of that gatekeeper that they know your sales, okay, leave your stuff and we'll give you a call. So it kind of diffuses some of that too. So, and that certainly doesn't mean for events or things, blood drive, we open up full sets of doors or things like that where we've got some events going on, but.
All right, I ran out of questions.
That was a good one.
Yeah, just sometimes a topic begets just issues that
And it's changed too, right? This building's been around since
never.
50s, so people were used to it being wide open, and
Yeah.
it's a little different. And we've kind of got some reasoning behind that. And we can certainly adapt and change should need be, but there's a little bit of logic behind what we do. We don't have all of the doors open at any of our other buildings. We want to, even though it's not a full secure entrance here, we still want to try and funnel people through reception. And
It'd be interesting down the line to hear how the door buzzer system has worked for other districts.
yep,
Unfortunately, that's just a fact of life
it is.
today and going forward. We went through it where I work over in Ames at the Iowa DOT complex.
Yep, it is, and it's something.
Adjustment, but then all of a sudden it just becomes your everyday life, and
Yep.
it's hard to remember it being any different.
Yep, and I've seen it done really well some places where I went to Carroll once and we stopped outside, we buzzed in, they asked who we were, what the purpose was. Hold on, let me check with those people to make sure that you're who you say you are and you're expected. I've been to other places, I'm not gonna name names, but where it was just hear the buzzer go and you hit the button and anybody's getting in regardless. So you're as good as your security, and yeah, I've seen it done well and poorly in some places, but that's kind of one of those things that we know it's possible. We've talked about it a few times, and especially at the 3 schools, it's not a huge deal because we've got foyers, so people can come in out of the weather. But like NCRC, that's one of the things that is a potential drawback to us doing this. There's no inside foyer, so you're gonna have people waiting outside in the weather. So now are we gonna do a multi-$1,000 project to build a canopy, or heaven forbid a external foyer in those places? So certainly something that we can do if we need. And with this system, it's an offering of the system, so it integrates with everything we've got. A lot of places it's something completely separate than your camera system or your security system. So then, okay, I've got this other camera. Well, now I've got multiple apps on my phone for multiple things, and I've got a camera here that I could use, but it's a different camera. So luckily we've got that capability here should we need it and decide we need to go that direction.
Back to the alerts, like if a door is ajar or something, do those alerts go directly to public safety as well? Or
They can, yep, we can set them up so they can.
At on the 5 o'clock news with Channel 8, they picked up on the school grants, and they were investigating on what's been going on with them. Only a dozen schools have completed their projects with those safety grants.
Yeah, their big point through that article was, it came post Perry that, okay, there's this $7 million some odd large chunk of change that the governor says for school safety. Why are only 12 schools having spent it? Well, you put a lot of steps to it, so that's part of the process. And okay, you're dealing with large amounts of money in some cases, and
They probably grabbed the grant paperwork right out of the chute.
yep.
This stuff is sort of a little slower, so.
And we're pretty fortunate that, we've attacked security for many years. A lot of schools, they're just putting in their first camera systems or their first decent camera systems with this money, where we're able to say, yep, I need a couple of cameras, but what I really need is an update to our key card system, even though we have it, or a lot of schools don't have a key card system. Like, we're very fortunate that we were able to use this money in extra ways instead of actually creating a security posture. But unfortunately, that's how some districts are. Your money only goes so far, and sometimes some of those things get deprioritized.
Well, we have been doing this with you. Fortunately, that's the longevity of having Dave and you in the district for so long, that this has been something that we've just incrementally done year over year. And you've kept it within budget. You have not been.
I think that's a great way to put it too, is we've done things incrementally. So this is nothing big, it's nothing a surprise. It's one of those nice to things that we were gonna figure out how to do anyways, no matter what. But okay, now here we can maybe do it a little bit sooner and get it taken care of.
Well, when you tell the story of what we do to keep the facilities and the staff and students safe, this is part of that. And we just refresh it virtually every year. Anybody got anything? It is a motion item, so if anybody wants to go there.
I have a question about the doors being ajar. So I'm thinking about musical stuff. So we prop those doors open all the time during show week. Like
Yep.
we're going back and forth.
Yep.
So is that something where you could just look on the app and
So
say,
what we're probably gonna have to do with all of our doors now, there's this thing called double fob. So if people with fobs double fob it, then it unlocks a door. So that's probably
Okay.
something we're gonna have to
Yeah.
just say, instead of putting a rock in the door, or go get Mrs. Niblock or Mr. Erickson or any of
so
the
you can see we're
directors
just
and
out there
say,
spraying
just,
hairspray or whatever.
yep, just
Yeah,
say,
okay.
yep, during drama, unlock that door, then we know it was unlocked. With the new system, we can see who unlocked it and a picture of who unlocked it. So then, yeah, you'll still
Okay, yeah.
definitely be able to do those things, because you do have to block doors open a lot, but a lot of times people forget to unblock doors, or people block doors that shouldn't be blocking doors, so, yeah.
Good question. Double fobs the door, they have to
double fob it to lock it again then?
Yep, or it'll revert to schedule. So like tonight,
Timeout.
I could say, yep, I want to unlock the door, but then at 10 o'clock when all of our doors lock, it overrides it and takes care of that. So a lot of flexibility that way.
We don't have any outside doors with keys anymore, do we?
So all of the doors have keys, but only a handful of people actually have the keys to those doors. We don't issue, so like all of our Knox boxes have a master key to all of the outside doors. Fire department, police, they've got those master keys, but 99% of staff don't because they use the fob. And it's just a fail-safe mechanism. So all of the fob systems are battery backed up. So it gives you some measure of, I can still get in the building if power goes out, but that only lasts so long. So we still need a
Mechanical
backup.
way to open the door.
Yep, we need a backup just in case. And that's why there's only a handful of those
Out there.
master keys out there is,
Yeah.
you know, the reason why I think like Colo, several years ago before we put a card access system there, everybody in the district had a outside building key and they were getting lost all the time. And you say on paper you're gonna change the locks when a master key gets lost, but do you? Because you've got a lot of doors. No, you don't. So
Yeah.
now you've got who knows how many keys floating out there, and that's one of the big reasons why we put a card access system over there, was because they had no idea who had keys to their building. And it was an issue, people getting in the building that had keys that had gotten lost or misplaced. So
Wow.
that's, you kind of get these extremes, right? So here we think we're in a pretty good spot that we've got a backup in place in case the things should fail. But we also have a control of who has those keys, a very tight group. So that way they're not just getting lost and then you have to make the call, do we replace the locks or not?
Wow. There's so many facets and levels of security as it's practiced in a public school, and
A lot of things to consider that are unique to public entities that we rent our buildings out a lot. So do you give them a key? Do you give them a fob? Well, no, we give them a fob and it's got an expiration date. So if it gets lost or they forget to turn it in, we're out 65 cents and not a big deal. It's shut off or I don't know how many times people, probably a couple of times a month, a staff either loses their fob or, I mean, I go through a new one about every 2 years because it's always in my pocket with my keys. It's inevitably just gonna get worn down because it's a piece of plastic, right? So if it falls off, there's no identifying marks that it's Nevada Schools, but no matter what, even if somebody could figure it out, I just go to Kristen and say, hey, I lost my fob, or my fob's broken, shut it off, turn a new one on. We're good, building's still safe and secure.
well, that was more of a rousing discussion than I would have thought. So I would assume we've got all the questions asked, and if not, I would take a motion.
I'll move approval of the school improvement safety grant quote from Bytespeed in the amount of $206,178.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the school safety grant quote as listed in the board packet. Any further questions of Joe? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Go get him, Joe. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good evening. 5.3, policy review, we got a 900 series. This is the first time.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Aligns with the most current policy refresher manual. And then also there's two other reviews there for 405.8 and 501.3. The review is needed for an upcoming desk audit that we have. No changes here, just
Yeah, no, I'm just looking.
just reviews.
We haven't even looked at this in 2010.
Good old days.
Yep,
That was even worse.
Pre-
It's not 14.
pre-fob. So when it says on the coaching evaluations, these bullet points are part of that review process for coaches? Or-
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm just reading it to make sure, yeah.
Yeah, no, I haven't, I
Yep.
snuck up on you there.
No, it's same practice.
That's, no, I'm just, yeah. So.
I think since these are listed as being reviewed on these dates, I think Dr. Gray might be asking for to waive a second reading.
Really, they're not adding anything in addition to language. Reflects, it just reflects, we haven't looked at it for a long time.
Yeah.
So I have very comfort in saying to the board, there's nothing new here. We just have to periodically do this. As you know, we do that. And if we would make a motion that would include the language to waive second reading, that would be greatly appreciated.
I would move approval of the 900 series policy review as well as a review of 405.8 and 501.3 and waive second reading of both, of all.
Second.
Motion and a second to move approval of the listed policies before us in the 900 series with a waiver of second reading for final adoption. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Good job. 5.4, policy update. 4.2, licensed employees.
Yep, I think the only update for this one was to remove Teach Iowa
Huh?
because of it no longer existing.
Oh, yeah. Was that a website or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where was that? That was a state or AEA or what?
Yeah, so
was
it's
that?
previously used to, for job postings.
Yes, Governor Branstad established it and it was eliminated last year.
Now everything's put through the Department of Ed site.
How's that working? Not well.
I'll say it, it's a complete disaster.
Well, you know, and I've read that. It was kind of one of those leading questions because the thing is, if you dive in on this education stuff, I mean, in different places, some clearly that's, a little shaded, but independently, that was a change, not that was innocuous, it was for clearly a detriment. And that would, as hard as it is to recruit and hire teachers,
It's just not, it's not as user-friendly as the previous setup.
Huh.
So it's Iowa Workforce Development, so it's any job in public government.
Yeah.
So,
I'll get lumps into one,
yes,
education and
yes.
county
So-
government, state government.
Kristen was on a webinar about it,
Right.
specifically with schools the other day, and they just got ripped, the state got ripped apart, how terrible it is. And one school said, we've got 10 teaching jobs open. I look at my school, I type teacher, and it says there's 0 jobs. It's just, it's a system that's not built well, and it's not built for education. So, but it's a law that we have to post our jobs there, so.
Well, Mr. Tech, how hard would it be, write the program to silo the domains of the respective county government, state government, municipal government, schools?
The problem is what they've got now was built when education wasn't considered. So they built this thing.
Yeah.
Yep, I've got jailers and I've got gardeners and I've got everything under the sun. And then we had Teach Iowa, which was also a law at that point. But then they said, okay, you can't have doing away with Teach Iowa. Now you have to use Iowa Workforce Development, Iowa Jobs.
Huh.
To answer your question, how difficult would it be to program that update to pull together? It is fairly simple.
And it just escapes the powers that be at this point.
It's as if you want to make it as hard as possible. Great, here's the system that exists.
I can read body English. That's a solid yeah. Wow. Well, it's here before us today to do an update, and I'm assuming that because that's all that there is, we can waive a second reading if the board is so inclined.
I move approval of policy update 405.2 with a waiving of the second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt 45.2 with the deletion of Teach Iowa. We will be waiving the second reading for final adoption tonight. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good job. 5.5, policy additions.
Yep, so the first one, 505.9 R1, is just the mandatory regulation that accompanies this policy. The policy 505.9 was approved last year, and this is just now the accompanying mandatory regulation for it. 907 is, I think, in part of the review process, was found that the district might have been missing this policy specific to language requiring board approval of school closure for in-person learning. So I think it was something that we just naturally occurred. And then post-COVID now it's a mandatory policy. Or excuse me, it was a policy before, but it wasn't, the language didn't say that there was a delegation to the decision to be made by the superintendent. And it just needs to be specified in board policy.
So when it says the district will host an annual meeting and invite all parents to attend, tell me when we're doing that and where we're doing that.
We're at, which,
Policy involvement.
oh, sorry, you're on the.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this occurs through, are you in the first? Yeah, so all parents that's specific for Title I, if you keep reading. So it's only available for parents that qualify
Okay.
for Title I. So all that is outlined in our Title I procedures and policies that we already have in place.
Okay.
So essentially all the stuff we're already doing, it's already occurring.
Well, it's just one of those that jumps out at you. It's just like,
Yep, no, they're all invited to attend the Title I night that our reading recovery teachers put on in
how's our attendance that way?
fall.
Do we get the parents coming in?
Yeah, because our numbers aren't super high,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And also if we have any parents that are not able to attend conferences, is also a time where parents are able to connect with our reading recovery teachers who are available. So if they don't come to the annual meeting, we still
We catch them somewhere.
Correct,
Okay.
in both the fall and the spring.
Well, so on bullet point number 5, it says operating a school-wide program. You got something you can use as a placeholder there and tell me what a school-wide program this is addressing? If there was concerns, what do we got? Help me think of something, please.
A school-wide program plan that is not satisfactory.
Yeah, just what's a
Title
school-wide
I.
program? Title I.
Title I.
Good Lord,
would be
I'm done
one.
asking questions.
special education would be, ELL would be,
Okay. Just starts pouring out.
TAG.
Oh,
So we also bring all of these plans to SiAC also.
yeah,
So
that's
we
where
have
I
some-
recognize.
Yeah. In addition to regular audits that occur annually for those programs. And in those plans, we have I would call it a grievance procedure that's outlined. That would fall under this where they would be, students would have the opportunity to comment.
Anybody else have any questions of administration in regards to this policy? Additions?
I move to approve the addition of policies 505.9R1 and 907 and waive the second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt policy additions to 505.8R1 and 907. Any further questions?
8R1?
So I'm looking at.
Mine says 9R1.
Well, I have 8 here, but I see 9 here. Here's 8, here's 9.
We'll go with because.
The
this
actual
is-
policy says 9.
Yeah, the policy, okay, it's a typo, happens.
Yeah, it's 9.
Yeah, okay. All right, good conversation. All in favor?
Aye.
For clarity's sake, we are waiving the second reading, correct? All in favor?
Aye.
In the motion. All right. Good job. We've got some heavy lifting done, housekeeping too. Here we go, Joe. Consent agenda.
I've got nothing on the bills I need to ask about. And that has nothing to do with the Iowa State game tipping off in 27.
Your honesty is refreshing.
Like Tom's been quick draw on the motions tonight.
What?
We
We got tonight, Houston again? We got?
Oh.
You do?
Yeah,
Did you just play that?
so
No, that was the beginning.
do we always have 3, more than one Zoom charge?
I divvied up between the 3 buildings.
Okay, thank you. I just never noticed it till tonight.
That's for our phone system, so it comes in as one charge, but then we count it for each building.
Makes sense.
I saw this on some of the literature down Wednesday at School Board on the Hill. Is there anything that, when you see what a CAM or a Clayton Ridge do to get enrollment dollars, is there anything on hosting? I know we looked at this at
We
one point
did, yeah, but then.
3 years ago.
Yeah, so one of the big kickers for us is if you do that, then it becomes its own entity of a high school. So, like, let's say that we had the Nevada Virtual High School.
Right.
We then would have accountability for that singular building, students that are enrolled in there. So
But isn't it a virtual presence?
it is, but you still would have, you could still be a targeted school through the Iowa, through ESSA. And then have some regs and regulations that you have to put into place, which makes sense if we have students that are in Nevada that we're able to connect with. But if we have students in Dubuque and Cedar Falls, Ankeny, Sioux City, it's gonna be really difficult to implement an action plan to assist those students.
How are these guys doing it then? Because they've been doing it for years.
Yeah,
You know, they've been, I mean, it's.
I don't want to speak for all of them, but I know a majority of them have a status we don't want to shoot for when it comes with ESSA. So there's just some different, it becomes its own kind of building, right, within your district. And really the only advantage is being able to have a student that checks for open enrollment purposes that they're coming here.
I mean, just the dollars that flow out and to get to, I mean, the enrollment is just staggering when you see a CAM
Yeah.
with that many additional students through open enrollment.
Yeah.
And it's virtual. And you're not building a building to put that many students in because you're doing it virtually.
And the billing system must be a nightmare for all the school districts that they have to charge.
You have to get devices out to them.
Well, that would be
There are just
logistically
some
tough.
things looking more into it, like if we were to expand to the whole state, it would be a little tricky to connect.
I think you look at what's your goal as a district? Is it to educate kids? Do you want to do it or do you want to do it right? Let's sink our resources into doing it right
For our kids
instead
here.
of spreading our resources thin and doing too
So,
okay.
yeah, like a great example would be Meg Frieders and Elizabeth Ginn meet every 2 weeks with all of our online students. They come in and actually have a meeting, just to make sure everybody's on track,
Right.
making progress with their courses, any assistance that they might need. That can get very tricky, like I said, if they're not,
And that's
if
just-
our only connection is through a screen, and if they choose not to come on a Zoom, we're not driving all the way up to Charles City to connect with the student. We're here, we can connect with them much easier and make a home visit if needed.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. You see it and it's just amazing.
This is unrelated, maybe a dumb question, but I see FBLA registration to Iowa FBLA. Since when do we have an FBLA club? And like, if we don't have an active club, do we have to keep paying the yearly registration or whatever?
Mrs. Bidney, I think, has been actively pursuing.
I think that's FCCLA.
Oh, it's FCC.
So those are two different
What's
clubs.
FBLA?
FBLA is
Tell the people what
Future
that's
Business Leaders of America.
We're starting one. It's,
Is it starting? Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, it's in the process. So all of we have to have.
Good job, good catch.
Yeah, good catch. We have to have a group for each of our identifying areas. So we have, and I'm terrible with the acronyms. I know FFA, that one's simple. We have a group with the FCS students.
Yes.
Business is the next one that's up.
Okay, yeah.
For a mandatory group. So yeah, I'm guessing it's one of those things where their fiscal year is different than ours, and we're just in the application
I was just
process.
wondering, because in Key Club, we have schools that are inactive all the time, like
Yeah.
seeing it from the district board. So I didn't know if like
Yeah.
we were an inactive school that we had it in the past or something like that.
We're in the process of becoming active.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds that'll be like something that you won't be able to take part in. Have-
It's okay. I don't need more things.
Anybody else see anything that they'd like to speak to, ask about? Nice to see all the appointments.
Yeah, we've been trying for a long period of time to be able to find a Strat 2 ID life skills teacher, be able to split the K-12 into two different areas, 5-8, 9-12. So really Lindsay will be a great addition in that area, and another Nevada grad as well.
It is a pleasure to see somebody that got a diploma from here coming back to work here. Speaking of Abby Stevenson,
Couple.
wow, that's a ringer. Now, everybody can stop asking who's going to be your volleyball coach. Colton Shipman has been our baseball coach at some point before, or assistant.
I want to.
Probably should ask
He's
you.
assistant varsity, yeah.
Yeah, he's already got one, or at least one, I think, a couple years in with us.
Right.
In business, or industrial tech also. And I want to say coaches middle school football as well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, the girls soccer makes sense too. They've been doing it anyway.
It's for next, not this spring, but
That's
for
yeah, going
coming
for. This is
spring.
Randy's.
Yes.
This is your
Spring is
last half,
25.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
But we are onboarding Abby here this fall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Middle school social studies and then high school board.
Super. I think Tammy should be a great addition. I'm glad that she came and we had an opportunity to meet her, and she was participating with us. And I'm pleased that she's going to be joining you starting in May. Teach her everything you know. Don't hold back.
24/7 for that.
Leave Post-it notes.
Yeah. Something like that.
What else? Anything? Once again, we have a plethora of fundraisers.
I guess there's 3, and I'm involved in all 3 of them. I guess I can speak to at least the first one. This is a newer one. So, as part of our Key Club, we're trying to, we want to do a K Family Service project. So our K Family is Kiwanis, Key Club, and K Kids. So our idea was to create a cookbook that will be a collection of all 3 groups. So we will all submit recipes or whatever, and then community members can purchase it. And I'm sure many of the Kiwanians will, and Kiwanians from across our Nebraska-Iowa district as well. So it's more of just like a unity project, and then obviously the funds will be donated too. Yeah.
On the crush cans, I tried to buy, I tried to order them. Is it only, you have to be within the school district, a student or faculty?
I'm not really sure what happened. The QR code just was kind of a bust, but like, so for like, it seemed like for outside the school district, the QR code just didn't work.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like even if you were in the school district, it required a verification of like the last 4 digits of the phone number of whatever like Venmo account it's tied to. So I'm not really sure what happened. So that's why I think it wasn't, that's part of the reason why it wasn't as successful as we thought it was going to be. We also like donated a lot of crush cans. I think we bought like about 1,000.
I think we had 1,200, and we probably still have at least 800 back there, which is what this additional fundraiser is for, to try and help get rid of some more of those.
I know what I'll be buying at intermission.
What do you think, Joe? I don't
Sounds
drink
great.
wine. Well, there's a man lining up to buy Orange Crush. So, drama. I see you said 3, and I'm looking at the third. Ads in our programs referred list from last year's donations to pay for student show and opportunities. What's that? Show and opportunities?
I assume that means ISHMAs, or the Iowa High School Musical Theater Awards. I assume that's what it's most directly
Probably
tied
could have
to.
Transportation fees, meals
Yeah.
and whatnot to cover the expenses for that, which is an annual thing that we've done in the past.
When's the last time, we got down to the Civic Center here, what, 3, 4, 5 years ago?
We go every year. As a cast, the last time we went was 2 years ago for Beauty and the Beast, and then the time before that was Shrek. Yeah. So it's not as often that the whole cast is going, but there's at least individual members that go.
And these are the dollars to offset their time and expenses?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Got any FFA news?
Sub-districts for today, can't remember where those are at. OGWSR, could be wrong on that. And so I think we had a couple groups of people moving on to districts. We have our FFA banquet now on Sunday, March 3rd in here at 6:30, I believe. Yeah, that's probably it right now.
What's Coop do with his apple? Where's his apple?
I don't know, I haven't been in his room. I don't have a class with him this semester, so I haven't been in his room in a couple months, so.
I'd like to see that apple.
It is really cool.
He was surprised, though. He didn't know he was getting that.
No.
Okay.
He did not.
Good. Hope somebody took his picture.
Picture, video.
You didn't see
Yeah.
the thing from Channel 13?
I
They
don't-
have him in the classroom.
I don't watch a lot of network
Yeah,
TV, so, no.
You look surprised.
It was on the morning show.
Yeah, he didn't know.
Yeah. I catch up with, when I'm getting gas at Charlie's or something, he'll come over and talk to me, so I get a full-throated update. There's a half hour I'm not getting back.
Yeah.
Well, great. No, let's put this one to bed. It's a consent item. I mean, it's a motion, or it's a action item.
Move approval for the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, motion and second to approve the consent agenda as was discussed tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Board member comments.
I will not be here at the next meeting, spring break,
Where you going?
Orange Beach, Alabama.
So the March 4th meeting?
Pardon me?
March 4th meeting?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not here either.
No pressure, Leanne, no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. Leanne, are you around?
Yeah, why do I have conferences 3:15 to 4:15? Oh, that's not mine, never mind. Oh, that's, yes.
Here, okay. Maybe we can talk administration to give us a modest agenda. It does happen.
PTA Carnival is this Friday, I believe.
We did have a group perform at Allstate this weekend. I guess I didn't hear. I think it went well.
Yeah. I didn't get the top award judge's favorite or anything, but still went well.
Good. Thank you for these.
Yeah, buy your tickets.
Sometimes you just gotta ask.
Yeah, only online, or it's helpful online if you want to pick your seat.
I didn't know you could do that. I didn't. We do have seats numbered though, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
I always wondered, why do we do that? I guess now I know.
Track started today, so getting into the spring sports.
And we have a fundraiser concert on Saturday night here.
Here.
Yeah.
That's where they all used to be years ago. Thought we had. Thought we were special. No, you were there. Did all the stuff in Gates.
Pardon me?
We did all our stuff in Gates, you know, this is where we did our performing.
Yeah.
Great, been to 15 retreats. That had to be a top 2 or 3 that we did this Saturday. Discussed a lot of content. I think everybody had an opportunity to speak their mind, and I would have to say, after seeing what Joe sent out, his little dig, I feel much better about shaping an SRO position in a way that I think everybody can find comfort, because that exists in a way that it's easily consumable by our police department. I hope our city fathers join us in this venture. Good job.
Scott just texted Cubs are up by 3 at the end of the 3rd.
Steve, we're gonna be hoarse.
Down 14 and a half.
So he said, yeah, I
Really?
didn't want to share that.
Down 14 and a half.
Yeah, who were we
Oskaloosa.
You got Husky up here? He knows people, you just know he knows people up here then.
That was what caused my little outburst there.
Oh.
It wasn't in relation to anything we were talking about. I saw the score.
We're
Well-
good hands now. Finish her out.
Go Cubs.
Yeah.
What happened, is this sub-state or is this district
No,
finals?
this is first round.
First
It
round.
changed things, I don't know.
Didn't Oskaloosa only won a small handful of games all year?
They were up to
Yeah,
like
I think
4
they
and
won only 3 or 4,
16.
but You gotta remember, they played DCG twice, and Carlisle twice, and
Yeah, they have them at the
Pella,
public
Pella
schools.
Christian.
I was talking to Alec Higgins about it, and he was like, they,
Indianola.
according to their record, they don't look very good, but they're also much harder.
Great girls.
Another reason why it was a genius idea not to get into Raccoon River Valley. Yep.
We don't have time for that conversation.
Okay, next meeting will be, are you listening to me? This is not, on February 5th.
March
So-
4th.
March 4th.
March?
Oh, sorry. My February just blew by. March 4th. So we will have 2 members gone. Is that what I heard? Okay, no pressure. We'll see if we can get a light agenda. And after that, take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second to adjourn.